mate.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.
Welcome to the Equity Mates Summer Series, proudly brought to you by Sharesies, where over 12 episodes we're deep diving into some of the most exciting, interesting and well-known companies from Australia and the US. Each episode we're also joined by an expert to help us unpack the key metrics, the bull case and the bear case for each company. Now, my name is Bryce, and as always, I'm joined by my equity buddy, Ren. How are you going?
I'm very good, Bryce. Excited for this episode. Must say, I am a little bit nervous as well. All 11 other Summer Series episodes, we've had an expert to rely on. This time we're all alone.
That's it. We are all alone, but we can do it. It's going to be fun. We're deep diving into Deere & Co. today. And before we do, we must say a massive shout out to Sharesies, who are sponsoring the Equity Mates Summer Series. And two reasons we love Sharesies. Firstly, the platform is easy and approachable, especially with Auto Invest, where you can now truly execute dollar cost averaging into Australian, US, and New Zealand shares. So all the markets are available. The second is you can pick your order, the amount you want to regularly invest, and auto invest that. And Auto Invest will place the buys for you. You can choose from pre-made orders or create your own DIY. Love to see it. Use promo code GROW when you sign up to the Sharesies platform for $10 into your account, ready to invest. Promo T's and C's apply, and make sure you download the Sharesies app or visit sharesies.com.au to learn more. Now, while we are licensed, we're not aware of your personal circumstances. All information on this show is for education and entertainment purposes. Any advice is general advice only. But Ren, one sentence to kick things off for Deere & Company. What do we got?
Deere is a leading maker of farm equipment and machinery.
Awesome.
Which means
old
Bryce,
school.
Which means, Bryce, today we're just two city boys talking farming.
Right in our circle of confidence. I love it. No, this is a fascinating company.
I thought that's when you were going to get really defensive and say, hold on, I'm from Wagga.
I am from Wagga, the city of Wagga.
Yeah, Townie.
Townie.
Is that offensive to you?
What, being called a townie?
Yeah.
No, because it's true.
Well, let's start with the history of Deere. A lot of people probably have heard of John Deere.
Yes.
Let's do it anyway.
You may have seen a John Deere if you were driving in the country, but it's 185 years old, started by John Deere back in 1837. He was a blacksmith who started making farm tools, your pitchforks, shovels, plows, all those old school farm tools.
You're a townie, bro?
Old school. And then the company progressed from there. But I think one of their biggest innovations ran early on that started to really separate them was their manufacturing process. Traditionally it was taken an order and then they would make the product, make to order, I guess. But now then they changed it to manufacturing the products in advance and then selling them once they're all ready to go. So great to see a bit of innovation.
Great to see. That's 19th century innovation for you.
Yes.
In the 20th century, Deere became synonymous with gasoline-powered tractors. And really today, it's a $100 billion company with 75,000 employees. I think still mostly known for agricultural equipment, tractors, harvesters, sprayers, whatever you need. But it also does have other divisions. It has a forestry division. It makes machinery and equipment for that. It has a construction division, makes machinery and equipment for that. It makes heavy machinery. That's the name of the game.
That is the name of the game. $100 billion company, as you said, Red, 75,000 employees. But it's really came across our radar in the last few years because of the innovation that is coming through from a technical standpoint and how they're really starting to change the game in and bring tech to farming.
Yeah, and this is a story that's really been playing out for probably over 20 years, and Deere have really ridden successive technological waves and I guess found ways to integrate what's happening in consumer electronics and the internet and everything, and ways to, I guess, incorporate that into farm machinery, especially. Back in the late 90s, they were working on things like guidance for tractors and, different bits of hardware getting integrated into tractors and sprayers and other machinery. But really, the inflection point comes with an acquisition in 2017, and that was Blue River Technology. So Blue River was a leader in machine learning and in particular applying machine learning technology to agriculture. And they were designing and integrating computer vision and machine learning into farm equipment. Now, computer vision is essentially, think of it as like the eyes of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Computer vision recognizes things and then artificial intelligence analyzes it and tells the machine what to do. But without having really effective computer vision, your artificial intelligence doesn't know what's going on. If we're thinking the artificial intelligence is the brain of a machine, then we need to build out its other senses for it to be truly automated. It needs eyes, it might need hands and touch,
ears,
smell. We haven't heard a lot about machine learning smell, but who knows? Maybe that'll come. But that's how you've got to think about that. And the reason that Blue River Technology and what they were working on becomes so important to Deere is because of what it allows Deere's machinery to do. So, for example, looking at crops and telling the machine to only spray herbicides when weeds are present, which reduces the amount of herbicides needed, reduces costs, all of that. Over time, advances in computer vision have started to allow things like fruit picking robots to start to be developed, although that is a technical challenge that hasn't quite surpassed the human, but we'll get to that. But think about all those potentially automatable jobs on farms. You need this computer vision to really make it happen. And so that was a really important acquisition for Deere in 2017. Fast forward 5 years, and not purely because of this acquisition, but I think maybe unlocked partially because of this acquisition, Deere introduced a fully self-driving tractor at the annual Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And Bryce, if I was to say anywhere that I'd want a company to unveil a self-driving tractor, it's in the middle of the Farm Belt itself, Las Vegas.
Yeah, well, what a moment. We actually did an episode on it on The Dive, so go and check that out if you haven't listened to it. But a fully automated, self-driving tractor is their latest revelation in the world of smart farming, you can call. And when they really see themselves as a tech company. It's just the way they talk, the way they present information in their annual reports. They have the John Deere Smart Industrial Strategy. They say will revolutionize agriculture and construction, delivering intelligent, connected machines and applications that will revolutionize production systems. And it's all about increasing economic value and efficiency on farms. And you can certainly see how that will play out.
Yeah, so they talk about their technology stack having 5 layers: hardware and software, guidance systems, connectivity and digital solutions, automation and machine learning, and then autonomy. And really, over the last 20 years, they've been building out different parts of that technology stack. But I guess ultimately where their vision of farming is a farm without the farmer. Well,
yeah.
No, a farm where a farmer spends more time sitting in front of a computer than sitting on a tractor.
Programming.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, everything's so connected. So you can see there's an interesting sort of timeline that they have in their guidance, in their annual report that goes through the stages of that stack, hardware and software, starting with just integrated displays in tractors, then they move to guidance, and things like autopath and turn automation start coming into some of their machinery, and then they move into connectivity and digital solutions. I remember when we spoke about this last time, it was like, your phone would connect to watering systems and gates and all sorts of things on the farm that would allow you to operate from one sort of centralized pad or computer system. Then you move to the fun stuff, automation, and then full autonomy, which is where we're kind of at today with the autonomous tractor. So real progress in that across that stack. And as you said, Ren, it looks like it's going to turn from farmers really active out there to really just actively managing their tech stacks.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be, there'll be all these sensors, and, there's even things like drones with infrared vision that will be like, these plants need watering, or there's pests, or there's bugs here that need spraying. And it'll be a matter of overseeing the work rather than doing the work. At least that's Deere's future. At least that's where Deere sees its future. And that's where Deere sees its future. They see it as a $150 billion a year opportunity, and they've got a goal to connect 1.5 million machines by 2026. So it's a fascinating world, and there are other people playing in that space. Shout out to someone I met at Owen Rask's event down in Melbourne, who works for one of Deere's big competitors, Claas, the German company, CLAAS, who reckons that they're going to blow Deere out of the water. Have to say that. There are other players. And, in their construction division, which isn't as big as their agriculture division, there's obviously other big iconic brands, Caterpillar being a big one, Komatsu being another one. So there's a lot of competition, but it is a really exciting space, I guess.
Yeah. I wonder what their play is on electric. Like, it was their self-driving. Do you know if that was an electric tractor as well? I would imagine that would be
so.
Really.
I mean, there's probably some things where you need a diesel-powered engine. But in their construction and forestry division, which we haven't really spoken a lot about, by 2026, they want to deliver 20 electric and hybrid electric production models. So they're obviously thinking about it. But, this is City Boys talking farming, so I couldn't really give you a good read on it.
Yeah, fair. Well, let's take a look at some of the key numbers.
That's what we can talk about.
Yes. So market cap, $133 billion listed over in the States. It's actually up 29% year to date. So serious outperformance.
Cop that, S&P 500.
Serious outperformance. Love to see that. Not only up 29% year to date, but up 193% over the past 5 years. So investors really getting behind this strategic pivot and can see the applications for a lot of their products for the future of farming.
Well, a big reason that the share price is up 193% in the past 5 years is because revenue's up 85% in the past 5 years. 5 years ago, it made $26 billion in revenue. Last year, $48 billion in revenue. So obviously the share price has grown faster than revenue. We'll get to profit in a second. But it's a big company. You don't expect that kind of growth from a company like this. All four of their key divisions in the most recent quarter grew. Production and precision agriculture up 59%, small agriculture and turf up 26%, construction and forestry up 20%, and financial services up 2%.
When will we see automated lawnmowers, I wonder, for the old mums and dads?
They exist. They're like Roombas for lawns.
Roombas?
Yeah.
Are they decent though? Like, they're not like for a serious lawn I'm talking about.
Well, this isn't a serious lawnmower, but shout out to Angie and Rupert, whose wedding I went to about a month and a half ago. They had a automated lawnmower that was just ripping around their lawn the whole time.
During the wedding?
It didn't stop. Well,
really?
The wedding wasn't on the lawn where it was mowing, but it's just like it has similar to a Roomba. It's mapped out the lawn, and it just goes. And then when it needs to recharge, it takes itself home, plugs itself in, gets some juice, and then goes back out there. Hardest working machine.
How big are we talking? Like,
It wasn't like. The wedding was on a farm, but this was like the lawn just outside the house.
Yeah, but
this
I mean,
like residential lawn vibes.
Yeah, like the size of a normal lawnmower kind of vibe, or
how big's a lawnmower? No, it's like the size of a Roomba. It's like a bit bigger than a Roomba.
Yeah, right. Fascinating.
Anyway, don't think that's a John Deere product, so probably
No.
not too relevant.
So market cap, stock price increasing, revenue increasing, and also profit increasing even more. So $7.1 billion in profit this year. 5 years ago, it did $2.2 billion. So that's profit increase of 223% in the past 5 years.
And if we just pause on those numbers for a second, so you can see 5 years ago, it did $26 billion in revenue and $2.2 billion in profit. So its margin was about 10%. Not bad, but you can see that the margin has improved meaningfully because last year it did $48 billion revenue and $7 billion profit. So that margin's improved, what, 50%?
Yeah, about 15% margin at the moment. So all good signs for Deere. So Deere is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The ticker is DE, and you can access the US stock market plus the Australian and New Zealand markets on the Sharesies platform with no investment minimum. Use promo code GROW when you sign up to the Sharesies platform for $10 in your account ready to invest. This is not product advice. Make sure you do your own research. Promotion, T's and C's apply. Now we're going to be back right after the break to have a look at some of the challenges that Deere might face over the next coming while. So we'll pick it up straight after this. All right, Ren. So you could be forgiven for thinking and looking at revenue growth, profit growth, stock price growth, that everything's fine and dandy for Deere. But we also do need to consider what are some of the risks here. And with all things tech related, I'm sure there are some competitors breathing down their neck, but what are some of the risks involved or challenges that Deere might face into?
So I think the first thing, you're right, is the competitive landscape, and there are a number of other players in this space working on fully autonomous tractors and other machinery. Case New Holland is a big one, and for people who are unfamiliar with that company, they're owned by CNH Industrial, and this is like one of Andrew Brown's the companies that he just loves. It's owned by an investment company, which is in turn controlled by one of those European families that Andrew Brown seems to have a specialty analyzing. So we could probably ask him about that company. But yeah, the first is competition, and there are obviously the old school tractor makers that are looking to integrate technology, and there are a number of tech companies that understand the technology, the self-driving autonomous technology, machine learning, computer vision technology, and are looking to apply that to different use cases, such as farming. So I think the big one is whatever head start Deere has now doesn't mean they will hold that into the future. We were looking at their R&D spending because they call out that they put a lot into R&D spending. I think last year they put about $1.6 billion into R&D, which is, it's a lot of money. But then we had to look at Caterpillar just to see how much they spent, and I think they were like $1.8 billion. So that's the first thing. I think the competitive set is a really interesting one to watch. The second one, which I think is important to note, is this right to repair movement. Now, Bryce, you probably remember back in the day, you jailbroke your iPhone to sideload some games.
No comment. Yes.
Well, a number of farmers around the world have been forced to jailbreak their Deere tractors.
Wow.
And it's actually often Ukrainian software that is like a knockoff of the Deere software that they run it on. It's because Deere are pretty restrictive when it comes to how you can use their technology, their tractors, and how you can repair them.
What? So do you have to get essentially someone from Deere to come and fix it, otherwise warranty void, or?
Yeah, basically. I don't even think it's warranty void. I think it's because you're using their intellectual property in their software and stuff like that. If you don't use their authorized repairers, then they can sue. It's kind of like with Monsanto and some of those GMO crop companies that you can't keep your seeds.
Yes.
Because it's their intellectual property. So traditionally you would keep your seeds and then replant them, and that would lead to some genetic diversity across the world or across a country. But with Monsanto, the seeds are their intellectual property, and so you can't keep them.
Hmm.
I think similar vibe.
I feel like that's a bit of a sticking point because if you're a farmer way out and you're really reliant on being able to fix your own machinery, otherwise you're hours and hours away, if not days away, from someone coming out to fix your tractor, then yeah, I feel like that could be quite frustrating and a hindrance to farm overall productivity if you need someone from Deere to make it all the way out to a remote property. But
yeah, well, there's this stat from the US Public Interest Research Group, which is an advocacy group representing a whole bunch of not-for-profits. They've reported there's just one Deere dealership for every 12,018 farms and 5.3 million acres of farmland in America.
jeez.
Yeah, and that stat is from earlier this year, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So that I think like the right to repair movement in and of itself is something that is picking up traction in different parts of the world at different points. But I think from an investment standpoint, the key thing is it sounds like for whatever head start Deere has technologically and with a large customer base and, you know, they have the ability to cross-sell to their existing customers, there may not be as much customer love as we think.
Yeah. One other challenge, I don't know how relevant it would be, but like agriculture generally, construction, forestry, you know, all the verticals that they play in are pretty cyclical in nature. And I don't know what impact that would have on sort of revenues, but like, you know, I imagine if there's significant periods of downturn in, and these would be pretty expensive products, I imagine, then revenue might not be as I guess smooth in each year in terms of growth year after year, but certainly hasn't been panned out that way over the last 5. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think there would be an element of like this is the picks and shovels play to farming though. Like actually farming would be more cyclical if you were to invest in, you know, a company that is actually selling the produce, you know, like an Australian agricultural company or a Costas or something like that. Whereas a picks and shovels play like this should be a little bit less cyclical. But yeah, they still rely on a farmer's ability to pay.
So, Ren, just having a look here, this equipment's not going to come cheap. Apparently, the 8R tractor with the 2,430 chisel plow will set a farmer back $500,000 for the autonomous system. So $500,000 to get this bad boy running around on your farm.
Wow.
Significant outlay.
All right, well, Bryce, pretty light on Summer Series episode, we have to say. Needed to get an expert in here. Not a lot of experts talking about this company in Australia, though.
Yes, hard to find someone who is covering this one in enough detail. But if you do know anyone, holler out. We'd still love to get them on the show to talk to it in a bit more detail.
Anyway, fascinating company, fascinating trend they're riding. And I guess the only question is, can they get there before their competitors? And based on the pricing you just found, can their customers afford it?
Yeah. Well, head over to The Dive. We did an episode on the news of the automated tractor. So check that out. And we will leave it there. A shout out to Sharesies for supporting the summer series. Head to sharesies.com.au or download the Sharesies app today. But otherwise, Ren, we will pick it up next episode.
Sounds good.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.